Wendy Williams used to say names like she couldn't be touched. Sharp jokes, hot takes, no hesitation. If Beyonce came up, Wendy was the opposite of careful, bold, unfiltered, almost daring the room to react. Then the headlines changed. Wendy needed rest. Then she needed help. And suddenly her life was being managed by other people. Her voice treated like a risk. Most people watched from a distance. I didn't. I was there. Night shift at a Manhattan hospital built to keep high-profile stories quiet. Why was Wendy staring into the corner like someone stood there? Why was her mind present but her body couldn't move? Why did the staff act like it was routine? And what if the moment she was finally ready to tell the truth about Beyonce, the whole system was ready to shut her down before she said what everybody was already afraid to hear? Night shift paid more. That's the only reason I took the job. New York rent doesn't care if you're tired or stressed or trying your best. It just wants the number on the lease. On time, every month. Like the city itself is collecting. So when I saw an opening for overnight staff at a private hospital in Manhattan, I didn't overthink it. I applied, interviewed, and told myself I'd do whatever it took to keep the check coming. The hospital didn't feel like a hospital. It felt like a luxury hotel that happened to have nurses, marble floors you could see your reflection in, fresh orchids replaced before they wilted, warm lighting that made the place look calm even when it wasn't, security at every entrance, but polite. Always polite. The kind of polite that makes you wonder what they've had to practice being calm for. It catered to celebrities and high-profile people. That meant no waiting room drama, no families camped out in hallways, no random visitors wandering around asking questions. Most clients came in through side entrances, covered up, escorted quietly, and disappeared behind secured doors. Privacy was the whole product, so nights were boring. Not peaceful, boring. You walked loops through silent corridors, pushing a cart, restocking linens, swapping water pitchers, collecting untouched meal trays, scanning wristbands, checking boxes. Everything was routine. Everything was logged. The staff didn't say patients. They said clients. They didn't say locked. They said secured. Words were soft here, like the building was allergic to anything that sounded harsh. To pass time, I started reading on my phone when I could. Headlines, long articles, forums, anything to keep my mind awake between rounds. Some nights it was sports, some nights it was politics. And some nights I fell into those rabbit holes people pretend they don't fall into. The Epstein files. Not because I thought I was uncovering secrets, mostly because the internet never shuts up about it. Every few weeks it would surge back into the news cycle like a wave. New leaks, old names, recycled screenshots. And then it would vanish again like someone flipped a switch. I'd scroll through threads, skim arguments, watch people fight over what was real and what was noise. It was background. It was boredom. It was something to do at 2 a.m. in a quiet building full of sleeping doors. Then Wendy Williams arrived. I didn't hear it announced. There was no loud memo. It was more like the air changed. Security tightened. Staff voices got lower. A few people started moving faster, clipboards thicker, tablets held closer to their chests. Her room was in the regulation wing. And what struck me wasn't medical activity. It was paperwork. People were in and out constantly. Not doctors rushing, not nurses panicking. Coordinators, administrators, consultants, people with badges that didn't match the clinical staff, carrying folders, tapping on screens, asking for signatures like the signatures mattered more than the vitals. It felt like management, not care. On my rounds, I passed her door and slowed down without meaning to. Even unwell, even behind a secured wing, Wendy had that gravity people talk about. Like she took up space whether she tried to or not. I told myself I was just curious. Everyone was curious. The door wasn't fully closed. Just enough of a crack to see inside if you glanced. Wendy was sitting upright, eyes open, staring at nothing, not sleeping, not watching TV, not reading, just fixed on the wall like it was playing a show only she could see. The stillness didn't look peaceful. It looked controlled. I kept walking, but my chest felt tight. On my next loop, a nurse noticed me slowing down near the regulation wing. "She's lucid tonight," she said casually, tapping her tablet. "Better than earlier." I glanced toward the door. Lucid. That word stuck with me. Like there were versions of her. Like earlier and tonight were different people. The hallway was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that makes your footsteps sound intrusive. Through the narrow crack in the door, I caught another glimpse. Wendy was still sitting upright, still, but not the same kind of still as before. Her eyes weren't fixed on the wall anymore. They were moving, slowly, deliberately, like she was tracking something inside her own head. Tomorrow night I was going into her room, not because it was my job, because I needed to know what I'd just seen. And once I decided that, sleep didn't come easy anymore. The next day felt wrong the moment I stepped back onto the regulation wing. I expected the same stillness, the same hollow-eyed stare, the same version of her that looked like she'd been placed in the room instead of walking into it. Instead, Wendy Williams was sitting upright in the chair by the window, flipping through a magazine like she was waiting for someone to interview her. She looked up when I entered. "Well, look who survived the graveyard shift," she said. Her voice had rhythm again, that sharp, knowing cadence people used to tune in for. Her eyes were brighter, focused. There was color in her face. I stood there for a second longer than I meant to. "You're feeling better?" I asked. She smirked. "Define better. I'm upright. That's a win." I let out a nervous laugh. The room felt lighter. The hum in the walls seemed farther away. I went through the routine, water, linens, trash, but she kept talking about headlines, about how the news cycle chews people up, about how everybody loves a fall. It sounded like her. Quick, observational, a little sharp. "You know what's funny?" she said. "They say you're resting. That's the word. Resting. Like you're a sofa." "You don't seem like you're resting," I said. "Oh, I'm always working," she replied, tapping her temple. We drifted into current events. It was easy, natural, like talking to someone in a break room instead of someone in a secured wing. I mentioned a story I'd seen online the night before, another wave of Epstein file discussions resurfacing. It was casual, just news chatter. The change wasn't dramatic. It was subtle. Her smile thinned, not gone, just flattened. She leaned back slightly and studied me. "Epstein is one of those things you don't bring up," she said quietly. Her tone wasn't emotional. It was measured. "I never brought it up on my show," she continued. "Not like that." "Why?" I asked. She held my gaze. "You bring it up," she said. And suddenly the room changes. The way she said it made my skin prickle. Phones ring. People get quiet. Lights feel hotter. "You ever notice that?" she added. I didn't know what to say, so I shrugged. She exhaled and waved her hand dismissively, like she'd said too much. "Anyway, that's above our pay grade." Just like that, the sharpness returned. "You married?" she asked. "No." "Good. Expensive hobby." I laughed again. She smiled wider this time, almost proud of herself. She asked about my favorite movie. I told her. She judged it immediately. "Too safe," she said. "You need drama, something messy." We talked about comfort shows, about rewatching things when life feels unstable. She nodded knowingly at that. "Familiarity is control," she said. "You already know the ending." She leaned forward slightly. "I like you," she said. "You're refreshingly normal." The compliment hit harder than it should have. For a moment, it didn't feel like a facility. It felt like a backstage green room, like she was between segments and just passing time. She asked about music. "Okay," she said. "Now this is important. Who's in your rotation?" I didn't think. I didn't weigh it. I didn't remember the whisper from yesterday. I just answered. "Honestly, My favorite artist is Beyonce. It was out of my mouth before I could process it. The room didn't shift loudly. It emptied. Her smile froze exactly where it was, mid-expression, her eyes locked onto mine. Not confused, not angry, not emotional, just fixed. I waited for a joke, for an eye roll, for something. "Wendy," I said lightly. Nothing. She didn't blink. Her chest moved, but slower, controlled. Her pupils looked steady, but there was no one behind them. It was like someone had stepped out of the driver's seat and left the engine running. My stomach dropped. "Wendy?" Her head tilted slightly, just enough to suggest awareness, but her face remained blank. The silence pressed against my ears. No hum, no distant cartwheels, no nurse footsteps, just her eyes on mine, unmoving, unblinking, watching, not me, through me. My mouth went dry. I took one slow step backward. She didn't react. Another step, still staring. That was when it hit me. Not as fear, but as confirmation. It wasn't coincidence, it wasn't stress, it wasn't a bad day. There was a rule, and I had just said it. I reached the door, hand shaking as I eased it open. She never broke eye contact, even as the door closed between us. Even as I stood in the hallway, heart pounding. Even as I realized the rule was real. I drove home with the radio off, not for silence, because I didn't trust sound anymore. Wendy's face replayed the whole ride. That last look, the smile stopped mid-curve like someone had pressed a button. Her eyes locked on mine without blinking once, as if blinking required permission. The worst part was how normal it had been right before. We were laughing, talking about movies, comfort shows, two people killing time. Then I said the name, and Wendy was gone. My hands were still shaking when I got home. Inside, everything looked the same. Shoes by the door, laundry half folded on the couch, the sink light I always forgot to turn off. But the air felt structured, like the room had rules I didn't know yet. I showered until my skin went pink. When I shut the water off, I heard it beneath the normal apartment silence. Something low and steady, a hum, not loud, the kind you stop noticing until it stops. I told myself, refrigerator, a C, blood in my ears. I ate nothing. Sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the dark TV screen like it might flicker on by itself. When I finally lay down, I left the lamp on. Like light could keep rules away. Sleep came in pieces, thin, nervous, the kind where your mind never fully shuts off, just lowers its voice. I don't know how long I was out before I woke up wrong. My eyes opened, and I knew immediately. Before I tried to move, something had changed. The lamp was still on. The room was still my room, but my body didn't belong to me. I tried to lift my hand. Nothing. Tried to turn my head. Nothing. I could breathe, but only shallowly, like my lungs were wrapped. Cold sweat broke across my forehead. My heartbeat came slow and heavy, like it was arriving from the hallway instead of my chest. Move. 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 My eyes darted as far as they could, and that's when I saw the corner. Not a shadow, not a coat on a chair. A figure, standing where the wall met the closet door, perfectly still, perfectly upright, as if it had always been there, and I had simply started noticing. It didn't approach, didn't shift, didn't breathe. It just watched. The longer I stared, the clearer it became. Not dramatically, not like a jump scare, but like a screen loading. Long hair, squared shoulders, head angled slightly down, looking at me from exactly the right height. Features, cheekbones, a face the world recognizes even in the dark. Beyonce, not performing. No lights, no stage energy, no expression designed for cameras. Just her, standing in the corner of my bedroom like she had the right to be there. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. I tried to blink hard, force my eyes to reset, but this didn't react like a person. It watched like a caption watches a show. Silent, constant, present even when you're not looking directly at it. People blink, even in fear, even in dreams. This didn't. The head tilted a fraction. Not curious, not sympathetic, adjusting, like it was framing me. Pressure settled over my chest, heavier than my own body. I thought of Wendy, that unblinking lock, that empty face, the moment the name left my mouth. Then, all at once, the pressure snapped. My body jerked like a clamp releasing. I sat up hard, gasping. The corner was empty, just my closet door and a strip of wall. I stumbled to the living room following a faint, tinny sound. My phone on the couch, screen glowing. A muted video I didn't remember opening, volume at 0. But the captions were running. White text on black. And right there in the middle of the screen, like the world insisting on saying it for me, Beyonce. I didn't sleep. I tried. I lay there with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling fan as it clicked and counted time like a metronome. Every time the blades spun past the same point, I saw it again. The corner of that room. The way Wendy's face went empty like someone dimmed the lights behind her eyes. The sense that something had been standing just out of frame, smiling. By sunrise, I was already dressed. I drove like I'd stolen the car, palms slick on the wheel, heart jumping at every red light. I kept telling myself there was a normal explanation, a breakdown, a panic attack, bad meds, exhaustion, anything but what my body already knew. I didn't need truth. I needed proof. Proof I wasn't losing my mind. That's why it hit me so hard when I found Wendy already inside the session room. She looked fine. Not fine in the way people say when they're lying. Fine like she'd slept 8 hours, hair done, makeup clean, eyes bright. Wendy, the Wendy everybody recognized, sharp, quick, present. She was flipping through notes like it was any other morning and I was the one interrupting. When she saw me, she smiled. "You look like you got hit by a truck." My mouth opened and no sound came out at first. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me, more urgently than I meant to. Wendy's smile faded a fraction. "I need to talk to you," I said. "About yesterday." A shadow crossed her face, fast, like a cloud over sun. She looked past me, toward the hallway, then back. "Not in the doorway," she said, too casual. "Come in." I did. The second I crossed the threshold, she reached behind me and turned the lock. Click. Then she walked to the blinds and pulled them down until the room went dim and private. Only then did she face me again. I told her everything. The way she'd frozen mid-sentence. The way her hand had clutched the edge of the chair like she was trying not to fall out of reality. The way she'd stared into the corner like someone had entered the room without opening a door. As I spoke, Wendy didn't interrupt. She didn't roll her eyes. She didn't laugh. She listened like every word was a nail being tapped into a coffin. When I finished, she exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding her breath since yesterday. "You weren't dreaming," she said. A chill slid up my arms. "So you remember it?" "I remember enough," she whispered. "And I remember what it feels like." She moved closer. Her voice dropped to something barely above air. "Promise me you'll never say her name again." I blinked. "Who's—" Wendy's fingers snapped around my wrist, hard, her nails pressed into my skin with real desperation. "Promise," she said again, eyes wide now, and for a moment she looked much older than she was. "Don't say it around me. Don't type it. Don't whisper it. Not like it's just a name." I swallowed. "Why?" Her gaze flicked, just once, to the same corner as yesterday. "Because every time it's said," she murmured, "it's like something hooks into me." My throat went dry. "Like a trigger?" Wendy's laugh was thin and humorless. "Like a leash." She released my wrist and rubbed her palms on her pants as if she could wipe the feeling off. "I don't black out," she said. "That's the part people don't get. I'm in there. I can hear you. I can feel the room. I can feel myself trying to move and not being able to." She leaned in, voice trembling, and I can see her. The air felt heavier. Even the lights seemed to dim a shade. "In the corner," Wendy said. just standing there like she owns the space, smiling like she's watching a show. My stomach turned. That's what I saw. Wendy nodded, fast. It gets worse, every time. Longer, deeper, like I'm being pushed further down inside myself. She pressed her fingertips to her temple. Trapped. More trapped than the last. I couldn't stop myself. What is it? Wendy's eyes shone with something that wasn't quite tears, more like terror refusing to turn into anything soft. They built a mythology around her, she said, a real one, not fairy tales, something people feed every day with attention and devotion. And she stopped, breath hitching, and looked at the corner again like she'd felt movement. Something like that, she finished, almost inaudible, doesn't carry life. It consumes it. A broken whisper slipped out next, like it hurt her to say it at all. She was never pregnant. The words hung there, jagged and wrong. Not a statement of fact, more like a paranoid splinter lodged in her mind. Something she couldn't spit out. I started to ask what she meant, but Wendy lifted a hand, stopping me. And it all leads back, she whispered, to the same rooms, the same lists, the same protected people. You don't know how much of this is connected. My pulse thudded. Connected to what? Wendy looked at me like I was a child asking where thunder comes from. Don't, she said, not out loud. I took a breath, trying to be careful, and still my mouth betrayed me. But her name, Wendy's head snapped toward the corner. The change in her face was instant, like someone pulled a plug. Her eyes went glassy. Her posture straightened. The fear evaporated and left nothing. She blinked once, slow. Then she smiled. Not Wendy's smile. A polite, practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. Footsteps sounded outside the session room, measured, unhurried. Someone stopped right at the door. The handle turned slowly. From the hallway, a calm voice said, almost kindly, "Everything all right in here?" They didn't raise their voices. That was the part that made it worse. The office smelled like lemon polish and filtered air, soft chairs, neutral art, the kind of room built to make bad news feel like self-care. 3 of them sat across from me. Compliance, the clinical director, and someone from administration I'd never seen before. "We're concerned," the clinical director said gently. "You've grown very close to the client." Client, not Wendy. "She's our top priority," administration added. "And your emotional involvement may be affecting your judgment." I tried to speak, but my throat felt tight, like my body was bracing for a sound it didn't want to hear. "You haven't been sleeping," compliance observed almost kindly. "Night work can cause misperceptions." "It's not that," I said. "Something is happening to her. You need to listen to Wendy. She's trying to..." "We are doing everything in our power to support her recovery," the clinical director cut in, smooth as glass. "But the safest choice is to transition you out." A folder slid toward me. Severance, mutual separation, confidentiality, polite, efficient, final. I wanted to push it back. I wanted to tell them about the corner, about the way her eyes went vacant, like the room had claimed her. But their calmness felt practiced, like I'd walked into the middle of a script they'd rehearsed long before I ever got hired. I signed because I understood what they were actually saying. Stop pulling at the thread. I wasn't supposed to go back to the regulation wing. I did anyway. Wendy's door was slightly open. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, hands folded in her lap, posture perfect. Calm, composed, the version meant for charts and headlines. When she saw me, something flickered so fast I almost convinced myself it didn't. "Leaving?" she asked softly. I nodded. Her smile faded. She leaned forward just enough to make it feel private. "Never say her name," she whispered. Not frantic, not paranoid. Certain. Footsteps sounded in the hallway behind me, measured and unhurried. Wendy's face smoothed instantly into that practiced serenity, like the words had never happened. I walked out without looking back. On the way home, I turned the radio on just to break the silence. Destiny's Child came through the speakers, bright, familiar, the kind of song you've heard 100 times without listening. Then the chorus hit, say my name, and there it was, threaded through it, layered, unmistakable. Her name. I reached to switch the station. Halfway there, the air in the car changed. For a second, I smelled it. Lavender and bleach, not perfume, not cleaner. The exact sterile sweetness of the regulation wing, like someone had opened a door in the back seat. My fingers froze. My pulse climbed. I flicked my eyes to the rearview mirror, just reflex, just grounding. The seat behind me looked empty. Then my brain tried to fill in a shape anyway, a suggestion, a face I'd seen too clearly in the dark last night. My stomach turned like it recognized the pattern before my mind did. I blinked hard, nothing. Just upholstery, just afternoon traffic. I cut the radio off. Silence flooded the car, heavy, ringing silence. And that's when my dashboard display flickered. Not the radio, not a station name. Text, plain and caption clean, flashed for half a second like a subtitle on reality. Say my name. Then it was gone. The screen returned to normal, like it had never happened. I drove the rest of the way home without touching the radio, without checking the mirror, repeating one rule in my head like it could protect me. Don't say it. If you enjoyed this story, like, comment, and subscribe for more unseen horrors, because some names don't need your mouth to spread.